Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys. We are full swing fantasy football mode. We're like 3.5 months away from the season. So it is time for me to start posting more consistently on this channel. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I wanted to wait a little bit to really start posting consistently because I didn't want to burn myself out, too early in the season, because now through the rest of the year, I'm going to be giving you guys consistent league-winning fantasy football advice. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Good news on the fantasy football front. We have reached 100 best ball teams. We are at 100 even. This is 1/5 of the way to our goal. So, if you follow my channel, you know this. We're going to be drafting 500 best ball teams this year. Follow me on my journey. I'm going to be live streaming so many of my drafts coming up soon. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to get into those live streams and maybe do some drafts with us. I can't wait to get those live streams going again, and we're going to be doing that soon. So today, we are going to be talking about 5 players. Now, these are 5 guys that I love. They're guys that they just come at a tremendous draft value. So I'm going to start right here with the first player on my list, and this guy might be the biggest steal in the draft, and that's Jeudy. Now, this is a guy who, last year, 7th in targets. He ran 700 routes, which was first in the league. This dude ran 700 routes. We know what an efficient and quality route runner this guy is. He's one of the better route runners in the league. He's coming off a 1,200-yard season, for crying out loud. How is this guy going so low in the draft? You're getting him a lot of times in round 6, sometimes in round 7. And I think the reason that he's being drafted so low is because we're not 100% sure on the quarterback situation. But what we do know is this. Joe Flacco, if he starts, is a gunslinger. We saw what he's done for Amari Cooper on the Browns in the past. He can very much support a wide receiver 1. He doesn't really have rushing upside, so he really has nothing else to do but drop back and just sling the ball all over the field. Joe Flacco will take shots downfield to Jeudy, so the deep targets are going to be there as well. The big playability is huge in this offense. Jeudy has no target share competition. There are a million reasons to draft this guy, and we're also looking at a guy that was potentially at one point going to go ahead of CeeDee Lamb in the NFL draft. Now, I know that talking about draft capital 5 years into a player's career doesn't matter as much as it does in the first 2 seasons because we've kind of seen what they are at the NFL level. But I just don't think it's really fair to judge Jeudy on what we've seen because he's really had a lot of injuries throughout his career. He's had so many fluctuating quarterback situations. I still think this is a guy who could be a bona fide NFL wide receiver 1 with extreme high-end wide receiver 1 upside, not even mid-range. He has that kind of upside. We started to see it last year. The weekly ceiling is tremendously high for best ball purposes. This dude is an absolute money pick going into the season. He's probably the biggest steal in the draft. If Shedeur Sanders ends up playing quarterback for the team, that's fine too. I'm confident that any of these quarterbacks on the Browns roster can support a wide receiver 1. I'm not saying the team's going to be good. I'm not saying the quarterbacks individually are that great, but they can support Jeudy as a stud wide receiver 1 for fantasy purposes. And so I love Jeudy going into the season. Next player on my list is going to be Calvin Ridley. Now, if you look at Calvin Ridley last year, very similar numbers to his 2020 season as far as air yards. So like 1,883 air yards, first in the NFL, 32 deep targets, third in the NFL. Very comparable to his 2020 season where he was 4th in the league in fantasy points per game. We remember that 2020 season where he absolutely went off. In that season, he was 1st in the league in air yards and 1st in deep targets. This last year, he was 1st in the league in air yards and 3rd in deep targets. They love throwing this dude the ball downfield. He is a deep ball, a deep pass catching threat. He's a good route runner. He can catch passes at all levels of the field and be utilized all over the place. And now we add Cam Ward, who could be a very good NFL quarterback. Remains to be seen. But my gosh, if Cam Ward is an average or slightly above average, but even just an average NFL quarterback, Calvin Ridley's going to have some awesome numbers. If Cam Ward ends up being one of these rookies that comes out and breaks out in year 1, guess who's going to be the main benefactor of this? Calvin freaking Ridley. This is the guy. Given the talent, given the route running ability, given his ability to catch the deep ball and his route participation on deep passes, I love this dude to absolutely break out this year. I think he's a massive steal going where he's going in drafts right now. If you look at the way he was utilized last season, if he gets that kind of air yard share this year and is 1st in the league in air yards, he's actually going to convert because he's got a better quarterback throwing him the ball. So I love Calvin Ridley to break out this season. He's a tremendous value. Next player on my list is going to be Patrick Mahomes. Now, this is a guy who, we have the track record right now. People are inclined to recency bias. And here's where we get a massive edge in fantasy football, guys. Drafting players coming off bust seasons that have good overall track records over the long run. Right? So they're coming off a bust season, so naturally their ADP is going to be way down because people only remember the last thing they saw. But we're looking at a guy who, if you look at his first 5 seasons, quarterback 1, quarterback 6, quarterback 2, quarterback 5, quarterback 2. I mean, my gosh, this dude's been a top, 5-6 NFL quarterback every single season in fantasy since coming in the league, except for the last 2 years where he had a little bit of a down season. But if you look at the situation, look at how they ran the offense. They clearly were trying to play ball control all season, run the ball, burn clock, play defense. It worked. It got them to the Super Bowl, but they're obviously going to make have to make some adjustments if they want to win a Super Bowl this year because, we saw what happened when they played a team with a superior offense. They got absolutely boat raced by Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. They're going to have to make some adjustments if they want to win. And now if you look at the wide receiving core, it's stacked. We've got Rashee Rice coming back. He's going to be healthy. He was out all season long. Pat Mahomes' passing numbers fell off a cliff the minute Rashee Rice got hurt. So good job, Pat Mahomes, on tearing your own guy's ACL because you screwed your total fantasy output by doing that. Xavier Worthy going into year 2, Marquise Brown. And we still have Travis Kelce, who might have a little bit of juice left in the tank, remains to be seen on that. But we have a 3-headed monster at wide receiver. I don't know how people aren't talking about this. This wide receiver room is going to go off. The way that the offense functions in Kansas City and the overall game plan is going to be different this year. And if they decide to cut Pat Mahomes loose, which, let's be honest, they are most likely going to let Pat Mahomes become a gunslinger again. If they do this, he's got all the weapons in the world, and he's going to return to form from that, 2022 Pat Mahomes where, he was the number 1 quarterback in fantasy, right? So Pat Mahomes is going to return to form this year. You're getting him in round 7. This dude's a massive steal. Probably the biggest steal in the draft at the quarterback position, maybe besides Jalen Hurts. So, we're going to want to grab this dude as much as possible. Next player on my list, while we're on the subject of the Chiefs, is Isaiah Pacheco. This is a guy who, 2022, 4.9 yards per carry. 2023, 4.6 yards per carry. The efficiency's been very good for Isaiah Pacheco. A big reason for this is the 4.37 speed, his ability to break tackles. He's like a bull in a china shop. You watch him run. He obviously runs very hard, plays the game at a very intense level. And this guy's still by far and away the number 1 running back on the depth chart. The only reason that Kareem Hunt came in and kind of took over things last year was Isaiah Pacheco was still obviously not 100%. You saw it in the efficiency. His yards per carry efficiency wasn't as good. The dude was playing hurt all year. He's going to come in this year. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be in an offense that provides him tons of scoring opportunities, plenty of touchdown upside. This dude's going to absolutely go off and bounce back in a massive way. He's got all the potential in the world in this offense, and he's going so late. He's one of the last running backs going off the board in best ball drafts and in everyday redraft leagues that can actually net you a significant amount of fantasy points and give you a very high ceiling. Next and final player that I have on my list here is George Pickens. Now, I love to see George Pickens go to my Dallas Cowboys. I do. Everybody that follows my channels knows that I'm a huge George Pickens fan, but I'm not really being biased here. I love him in this offense. I mean, it's a significant upgrade. He was in Pittsburgh with a very uncertain quarterback situation. Another diva wide receiver beside him, DK Metcalf. Not that CeeDee Lamb isn't a diva, but I don't really see, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb getting into it the way that DK Metcalf and George Pickens would have if they both played on the Steelers. Not to mention we're going to be in a way better offense, so both receivers are going to be happy. They're playing in an offense that plays at a very fast pace. If you look at the pace of play every year, the Cowboys are one of the fastest offenses in the league as far as pace of play. Dak Prescott's a gunslinger. He's going to be chucking the ball all over the field. All the attention is going to be on CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens is going to be left open to eat. He's going to absolutely explode. Don't forget that just 2 years ago in this offense, Brandon Cooks, the number 2 wide receiver in the Cowboys offense, had 9 touchdowns. This is an offense that can produce extremely good numbers for their wide receivers. George Pickens is going to be left open to feast because all the attention is going to be on the other side of the ball trying to defend CeeDee Lamb. Look for George Pickens to absolutely explode this year. He's a tremendous value in the draft. Make sure to draft these guys. Guys, they're going to be a huge help to your fantasy football team. So I hope this video helped. It's so good to be back, guys. I appreciate you guys very much, and I will catch you in the next video.